ASG Zenith enables a new approach to know your customer. Fueled by automation, it allows you to focus on risk assessment and onboarding instead of document collection and verification. Let's take a look. Zenith Studio enables designers to easily create rich process applications using Angular-based forms and wizards with a build once, run anywhere paradigm. Including BPMN-compliant processes, a connectivity framework to integrate with enterprise information systems for both structured and unstructured data sources. Decision modeling with Daemon-compliant business rule modeling and execution. An AI framework to incorporate AI skills into processes and augment human participants. With attended and unattended bots that integrate to business processes. Zenith is the automation framework that sits atop our other proven ASG solution and allows you to build applications and design automated work processes. It allows you to add in process automation steps for capabilities such as content and data collection, data audit, content usage, distribution, and governance, delivered with Mobius, audit and analytics services, and Cypress integration. In our case, a candidate enters details on a form and attaches identity, address proof, and supporting documentation. When they click Submit, the process is triggered. Content is captured to Mobius, including an automatically generated process index. As part of process, an RPA task is triggered to check the credit score and, based upon the applicant's age, occupation, determine the appropriate threshold credit score value and then compare it to the actual credit score they just received. The actual score is compared to the threshold, and since it does not meet minimum, an inbox item is created for an approver to review the applicant details and support documents. They then review the form and documents and make a decision to accept or reject and notify the applicant. The applicant provides feedback, which is then run through an AI service on AWS to translate the feedback text and also perform sentiment analysis, which is then presented to the approver. Now I'm previewing the KYC application built in Studio, and the applicant info has mostly been pre-populated. I'm going to copy this process index for later use. Next, I'm going to indicate the expiration date of a passport and drag and drop my passport image to the designated capture target. And then I'm going to click Next, and I'm going to capture my driver's license also, and then a supporting document, in this case, a bank statement. Then I'm going to click Submit, which triggers the process. Here, an RPA bot is going to check the applicant's credit score and then compare it to a threshold value based on their age and occupation. The actual credit score is below the allowable minimum, so the application and supporting docs are routed to an approver for review. Here I'm in the approver's inbox reviewing the applicant's submitted details and documents. Note that the account number has automatically been redacted via policy in Mobius. In addition to the bank statement, I can review the applicant's passport, driver's license. Having reviewed the information, I've decided to reject the application due to a low credit score, which is then going to trigger the next step in the process to notify the applicant of the rejection and have them provide some feedback, which then triggers an AI service to perform translation and sentiment analysis, which I can see here in the process monitor, which reflects all process steps. And then I can jump over to Mobius View, and using that process index I copied earlier, I can search for all the relevant documents, review them, including having the ability to unredact the document because of my role in authorization. So how do we do all that? Here I am in Studio reviewing the main UI model for this application that we just previewed in the demo. And you can see I have a lot of options at my disposal out of the box, including the ability to connect to existing data sources, such as Mobius, as I've done in this case with the appropriate host name, port, and URL for Mobius 11.1. In my case, running on Docker Desktop on my laptop. Establishing Mobius as a data source and enabling all these REST services. I also have decision models like the one we used in this case regarding credit score thresholds based upon age and occupation. And the process model which graphically depicts our process steps and configuration to establish data sources, UI models, decision models, RPA bots, users and system tasks, as well as form data that's used in the process, and form attributes, which are easily configured to use UI models, in this case, the validation UI. Also, RPA processes for validation of the passport expiration and credit score. And the UI model, where it's easy for a designer to drag and drop and configure UI elements such as the layout, inputs, and controls, such as the newly enabled content services shown here. And let's take a look at how I enabled the auto generation in this process. Generated a form ID used in the process, and that's automatically assigned to content that's captured. Once I've established these process components, it's easy to select them as reflected here. And to invoke a capture target is as easy as selecting Mobius as the data source and selecting the relevant capture target, including the requirement to map the process index to the auto-generated form ID. And the same is true for other capture targets leveraged in this application, such as the license and supporting document, which I've also required the applicant to indicate the supporting document type and date. And again, the process ID is automatically assigned. Let's take a look at the validation UI where the approvers presented the applicant details and supporting documents. Note in this case, all I had to do was indicate Mobius as the data source, searching for the process index by default, as well as the doc viewer that can easily be configured by checking or unchecking desired capabilities. And I can easily toggle to see how it will appear on my desktop, tablet, or mobile devices. And when I'm ready to save the UI model and the corresponding Angular code is automatically generated, all I have to do then is save it and preview it. With Zenith, we are uniquely able to bring all these capabilities together in one studio, a rich platform for low-code application development, whereas leading competitors typically need to integrate many of these as separate components. In Studio, you have one palette that brings all of these capabilities together and allows your business analyst and IT team to use this model-driven paradigm to construct your application and then run them on any device.